Okay, so my name's Laura Hegarty. I'm a lecturer in the Galway campus in ATU, and I want to just talk today about data, a little bit about SEO, data visualization, and then my plan then is to hopefully get 10 minutes at the end then, within our half an hour, to demo a data visualization tool called Power BI from Microsoft, okay? So feel free to ask me any questions along the way. You can have access to these notes and everything if you wish. Okay. So what I'm going to cover is search engine optimization, data visualization, and the whole idea about data visualization is so much data out there, overload of information, and how can we create visualizations from all of that data to help make decisions for our business, for our education, for our whatever it may be. Okay, so one of the tools then would be Power BI, along with, which would be a little bit more of a heavy-hitting tool around data versus the likes of maybe your infographic tools like Canva and Pictochart. And I have a few of these mentioned, so you can take note of them as we go on. Okay, so when we talk about search engine optimization is basically, as a business, for example, or even as a professional, how do you create a website or create a social media platform so that you stand out from the crowd, okay? So it's understanding what search engine optimization is, okay? So looking at Wikipedia, it's the process of improving the visibility of a website or a web page in search engines via a natural way of finding your business rather than a paid version, which is what we use the Google ads for. For example, you're paid to give that visibility. We're talking organic, unpaid. How do users or customers find your business? And there's loads. I'm going to try and give you a few little tips of how best to do that for your business. Okay, so I suppose the image here is looking at, there's so much data, there's so many businesses out there, how do we try to optimize our website knowledge and our keyword research to be able to stand out from the crowd. Okay, so hopefully nobody's a fear of spiders. Search engines, it's kind of the way that they search. It's like spiders crawling through the web of all the search engines. So for example, if you were to type in the keyword Michael Jackson, okay, the singer, what the website does or what search engines do, doesn't matter which one it is. It can be Google, it can be Bing, it can be any search engine. It crawls through all of web pages, images, videos, anything with the name Michael Jackson, anything with the name Michael, anything with the name Jackson, and it returns all of these results to you in front of your eyes, okay? So that's how spiders work, or that's how the search engines work. So they do it by looking at image description. So when you have websites and you upload images, for example, you should really label the image got to do with what the image is about. So for example, if you were to put up an image of a flag and just call it a flag versus an Irish flag, just the difference in one of those keywords can make a difference, okay? Search engines want you to label your images. They want you to have your URLs by design easy to read. So there can be some crazy URLs where it might have the name of the business and maybe older websites, and then it could have numbers after it and figures. Really, for website design, it should be the name of the domain, the URL, / contact us, rather than XYZ, whatever numbers that follow, because that doesn't make sense, okay? So when you're building websites, these are things you can control to help optimize search engines finding your information. And it's all focused down to keywords. Keywords is what we type into search engines, to your YouTubes, to your Googles. So you need to get inside the mind of your user as a business owner and think of what type of keywords can I use in my website, in my information, in my data, and the more times I appear, okay? So for example, if you put up images of your website, always add your business name onto it, because the more times your business name appears within images, text, videos, the more authority you have on the website, the more times your name is going to appear. And if your name appears often, then you're seen as having authority and a presence online, and that's what search engines like, is authority, okay? For your websites, I don't know if your websites are new or old or you don't have a website. On the left-hand side is known as a flat site hierarchy. So it means you've kind of got your home page, you might have your products, your services, your contact us, and then maybe a few pages off that. So for search engines, that's not too deep to crawl, okay? Find what they need and return the results. When you have a website that is deeper in hierarchy, which tends to be maybe older websites or websites that are not updated often enough, the further the pages are within the design of the website, the longer it's going to take the search engine to get to it. So that is why maybe you need a revamp, or maybe you need to relook at it, or remove pages, or check, are some of these pages even being searched for? Okay, so that's just kind of essentials to know how is your hierarchy design and can it be improved. Okay, so on-page SEO is basically what you can control as a business. This is stuff that you can manage. You can manage the design, the layout, the navigation of your website, the speed, the mobile friendliness. So when you go onto a website, does your website adapt to the mobile device? If it doesn't really, and you're moving around and it's not within, you know, kind of full view or easy view of the customer, they're going to leave your page. So maybe you might need to look at being more mobile responsive or redesigning your website so it adapts to newer or to devices. The speed is another thing. If it takes a long time for your website to load, that's something that you can control and pay for more bandwidth or through your provider, or maybe remove pages or broken links, okay? Keyword optimization, so in other words, use relevant keywords for your website, okay? When you put in your tags, your descriptions, your metadata. Image optimization, that's just labeling your images. Good practice, good design, you should always label your images and content that goes online. And then obviously your content, if it's original, okay? Make sure it's useful, original, and again, good design. So the whole goal of on-page SEO is stuff you can control for your business. Make your website clear, relevant, fast, and user-friendly as possible. So for both users and search engines to navigate and crawl through, okay? Versus off-page SEO, which is something that businesses can have less control over. So link building, so it might be where your business is advertised on another provider or another service. So by having that trustworthiness of them recommending your business, that helps with your authority, that helps with trust, which is good. Your Google business profile, again, that's something that, you know, you have to make sure you have all those details correct and that they're visible. Social media engagement, so sometimes you've no control over what people do on social media, what they say about your business, okay? So again, that kind of comes back to trust and having good, reputable content. Events and partnerships, again, that might be something you have control over, or collaboration and PR outreach. So these are things you don't have direct control over, but doing stuff like this can really help get exposure to your business through search engines by having this data online, okay? So the whole goal will be to build authority, and trust for your website through external signals or external collaborations with people to be able to make your website credible, because that's what Google and search engines like, is credible websites, trustworthy websites, original content. That's what makes you rank higher in Google searches, and that's why you want to be on those top few pages. Okay, this is just a little kind of infographic-y poster, just on-page, off-page SEO, so just a summary of both of them. But just a simple analogy would be on-page SEO is like making your shop look clean, well-organized, and welcoming inside. You've got control over that. Off-page SEO is building your reputation in the community, so people can talk about your shop and recommend it. So just to kind of give you an insight. So what I've done is I've just kind of summarized best practices. Okay, so in order for search engines to be able to, and search, SEO is just, does anybody actually do SEO out of curiosity in the room as part of their day-to-day job? No. Okay, it is not a quick fix. It is an ongoing, constantly updating of information. You've got to stay on top of all of your content that comes for your business if that is part of your job. But in summary, having good keywords, having up-to-date content that's regularly updated, and making sure you optimize and label your images correctly. To use the likes of Google and YouTube, they are obviously from the same company, so it's likes of using those businesses perhaps to have your information on or advertise, obviously because Google controls the algorithm of the searches. So ensure your site is fast to load, that you encourage visitors to your website, so that could be through campaigns, through social media, through promotions, through Google Ads, getting people onto your website. Again, having good quality and making sure the links work on your website. Sometimes it can be overlooked, so there's internal linking and backlinking, so it's only sometimes you might come across them, and the likes of tools like SEMrush, a company that does have SEO tools, they allow you to find those broken links so that you can fix them, basically. Update them, remove them. Make sure your website is mobile responsive, that it's optimized to adapt to the content, and then local SEO if that applies. So just kind of, knowing what's around your business. Okay, so helpful tools. So I've just listed a couple of tools here. SEMrush is an all-rounder keyword research tool. So if you had to go and crawl through your website or find how best to optimize your website, okay, that would be a really good tool to allow you to do that. See what type of keywords your competitors use, where they might rank higher than you do in Google. So go see what they do. Do a keyword research. Is there words that you can add into your website that helps with your ranking, okay? Ref is another one. It's really good for backlinking and competitive analysis. Yoast, it's a little plugin that you can install in WordPress. It's like a traffic light system, green, red, amber. And what it does is it allows you to go through your content on all of your pages and give you signals, colored signals, to say this could be better, this is good, what can I change? So it's a really nice plugin in the back end of your website. Keywords Everywhere, so that's a really good research tool. So again, some of these you may have like a short trial, some you may have to pay for. And again, that allows you to discover keyword insights into your competitors that hopefully you can add to your website. The last one then is Hotjar. Does anyone ever use Hotjar? Oh, it's an amazing tool. It's basically a tool that you can install. So if you have any of these tools on your website, obviously in your cookies policy, you need to add them in to say that they're there. Hotjar is like, it's a user behavior and analytic tool where it basically takes a screen recording. So if I end up searching the ATU website and I'm looking around, if ATU has Hotjar installed on it, it can't identify me as a user, but it can identify what I click on, where I go, all these, my behavior online. Maybe it can identify some of these pages are never been used. Let's remove these pages. So it's actually a video file inside the piece of software, and you're actually watching where people click. It's really cool. It can do some, it's used also then for heat maps to see what buttons are most, people click on most. So it might not be your home page, it could be the next page to it. So then you might move that page to your home page because they seem to go there first. So it's an online behavior, gives you some good insights into what your users are doing online. So hopefully some of those tools for your business, if you don't have them, they are a good start when it comes to search engine optimization. I could talk for hours on this, but I'm very tight for time. Does anybody have any questions on SEO? Okay, a whistle stop. All right. Okay, how am I for time? I didn't. We'll keep going. Okay, so data visualization and decision making. Okay, so I'm going to speed up a little bit. Are ye done with information overload every day? All your devices, your laptop, your internet, your email, everything. There is information overload, and as a business, sometimes it's hard to stand out from the crowd. So what we want to do is we want to be able to visualize data so that people will consume the information for our business, that they will read key points about our products and services. It might be informative information, it might be to buy a product or a service, it might be just to awareness of your business, okay? So the whole idea is, I suppose, in 2020, the pandemic basically allowed more and more people around the world where we were constantly online engaged, having our meetings. We weren't physically meeting people. So it transformed how we do work. It also, obviously for entertainment reasons, we now can get access to box sets, we can binge, we can have loads of subscriptions that don't have to watch ads anymore. My kids don't know what ads are. So data never sleeps is my point, and there can be too much data out there. So this is a really good resource. It's called Data Every Minute. And what it basically does is this data is happening, every year they release it, and it's basically what happens every minute around the world, okay? So, for example, it says TikTok users upload 16,000 videos every minute. Google AI Gemini receives 8,574 visitors, okay? So you can have a look. As I said, I can share these slides with you, but the idea is there's so much happening out there with data, okay? And this is what people are doing every day online. You can see here the global internet population growth from 2014. I actually can't read those. This is 5.5 million. So 2020 is 4.5 million. They're a bit bigger, I can read them. 2020, 4.5 billion population growth, and 5.5 in 2024. So basically what that means is population is growing, data is growing, and it's to get our businesses out there and to be visible, and how can we go about doing that and help make decisions along the way. This is what's happening with AI. AI never sleeps, and every minute of the day, this is what's happening. So for example, ChatGPT is prompted nearly 7,000 times a minute, ChatGPT, around the world. 7,431 minutes of video is generated with AI, okay? 293,000 is spent on AI a minute around the world. So not only is the slide before humans and what we do every day, now we've AI, and it is doing something very similar, if not starting to catch up to what we are doing. So a lot of data out there, and I suppose it's been able to get to the information. So what is data visualization? It is a graphical representation of information of data, okay? By using different types of elements like charts, graphs, videos, maps, it allows us to be able to capture information, understand it, visualize it, and make decisions based on the data, okay? So the advantages of having good data visualizations is that our eyes are drawn to color and patterns, okay? You can think of images that if you see it like the no smoking sign or the crossing the road sign, they're kind of embedded in your mind. You see them, you know what they mean, okay? So they're so powerful. Visuals are so powerful, okay? So what I want to do is when you create data, you also want to share information, but you can also tell a story about a certain topic. So my students, some of them here in the class, are ready to submit their CA very soon around data visualization around a topic of their choice, okay? So what they need to do is visualize the data that they've researched in their own design and skill set. When we think of spreadsheets, I don't know, do you have to go through loads of spreadsheets, loads of information and data, and it's like, how do I make this exciting? How your boss wants decisions made, you need to get to the bottom line, and that's where I'm going with the Power BI demo, which I'm going to speed up. Okay, Robert Plutchik is basically, he designed the wheel of emotion, and this is what it is here. It's basically lots of colors. So when you guys are designing content or you're thinking of branding or promotion, okay? When you look at, say, for example, if you look at a deep, deep red color here is like rage, anger, annoyance. So the further you go out with the shade that kind of lightens in color, the less strong it is. So color and emotion, it was already mentioned in the previous session. When you look at content and it strikes an emotional chord, it makes you want to act, whether you're happy, you're sad, you're annoyed, you want to comment. So from a business point of view, when you are adding images and content and looking to create content, the wheels of emotion and linking them back to all of the different elements here, that might be just something that you can work with to really try and capture an emotion with your customer when they're looking at content. Picture chart, Canva, I'm sure a lot of you probably know maybe Canva a little bit more. Picture chart is very similar. It's just a nice way to capture and visualize data. Again, I think Canva's free. Picture chart, there's a trial with it. So they might be two tools you might check out to help visualize data and summarize it to make decisions or share on social media. Okay, nearly there. I think I have 2 more slides and then, or 3 more slides, and then we'll do the demo. So data-driven decisions. So the whole idea is you want to measure the data that you capture for your business, whether it's on social media, campaigns, Google Analytics from your website, however you want to capture the data. Data allows you to make decisions for your business. So the more data you have, the better decisions that you can make. You can measure them from loads of different avenues, from, as I said, web activity, even some of those tools that you could install or work with for SEO. They give you back data. They'll give you some insights. Social media, very much how people engage, what worked, what went viral. Email marketing, okay? Email marketing is another one. Are they opening your email campaigns? Stuff like that, okay? All right, so as a business, in order to make decisions for your business, you need to have a plan, okay? So always start with your customer. Who are they? What do they need? And how can you solve their challenges? So whether it's products or services, whether it's sharing of information, whatever it may be, when you think of content and data visualization, that might be just something you need to create to grab their attention, which might lead to a sale or a new customer. But that's just a little summary of these 5 steps of having a plan as a business, and to keep this in mind as you try to make decisions for your business. Okay, that's just a screenshot there. There's loads of lovely visualizations if some of you have to make them for your work or for your business. Power BI is what I'm going to demo now, okay? It is basically a business analytics, business intelligence solution to help you visualize a lot of data, to condense it, to summarize it, to make it look pretty, that you may need to share for your job, for a presentation. It can connect to hundreds of data sources, and it brings data that can be interactive to life so that you can make decisions, okay? And the whole idea in summary with this tool, now there's a lot in between, but you basically get the data, you visualize it, you share it, and then you can make decisions for your business. Are you okay to wait 5-10 minutes for the demo? Okay. Does anybody, I know I kind of raced through that, but it's hard to squeeze it into half an hour. So, okay. So for some of my students who I had yesterday, I introduced them to Power BI for the first time. So Power BI, if you're within ATU, it's a free tool that you can install using the browser, or you can download it if you don't have a Mac. The Mac users can't download it. It's not allowed to download it as a piece of software, but you can still work in the cloud version. So because it's a heavy resource piece of software, it takes a little bit of time to load. So I've gone straight into it just for the purpose of time. So what we have here is basically like just a couple of different sheets down here. You can keep adding all these visuals. This is where you're going to create all your visuals, and there's a little library in here that has loads more stuff. Okay, they're your visuals, and I have brought in 2 examples of bits of data here, but I'm only going to work with the top one, COVID-19. Okay, so I have 4 slides I'm going to, or 4 visuals I'm going to create. So I want to show you the data. So over here on the left-hand side, I'm in the report view here. This here is your table view. So what this table of data is, there's lots of data in here. So you might be able to relate that to work that you have to do, and it's like, like I have to make decisions, or I have to give a final figure or quarterly totals for my boss, and I don't know where to start. The likes of this tool will really, really help. So this is relating to COVID data. It's got date, month, year, how many cases there were of COVID, how many deaths, unfortunately, that there were, the different countries, the population, and then the continent, okay? So that is what the data looks like, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and create 4 visuals. Now, just to say to you as a piece of information, these 2 tables are not related. One is on financial data, one's on COVID-19. They've nothing to do with each other. But if I had data that I wanted to connect to talk to each other, I can create a relationship with both of these. And when I do that, by literally dragging a line from this to this, I can create visuals from different tables. Okay, so that's a nice thing to be able to do depending on your aim. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the first one. Okay, so we know that we have countries in here. Okay, so this is your table, and then you just open it up and you've got all of these down here. It's really important before you bring in your data into Power BI, right, that you have it in a very organized manner. So you can see there's drop-down lists, so it's kind of filtered. So I would say to you, if you have an XML file, or you have a file that does not have table structure, select all of your data, put it into a table format before importing it in here, because it gives that organization so Power BI can work with it, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and go back to the report view. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, you can hover over all of these, they'll tell you what they are. So this is just the map. Okay, there's loads of different maps. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add continent and country to my map. So I'm literally going to take continent from, or country from here, drop it into my map. And you see straight away what it does is it shows me all of the bubbles of the data relating to COVID-19, okay? And then I'm also going to take the continent and drop it in. So I can hover over, for example, Faroe Islands and the continent, it'll tell me where it is. Now I also could bring in, I could drop cases in. So then it tells me from making those bubbles bigger that, for example, here, this is the United Kingdom in the continent Europe, and it had 4.2 million cases of COVID within that time period. So straight away, this is just a nice little visual to take away from the Excel, and it's in a nice representation of something that you can understand. I'm going to add another one. Okay, there's lots of different maps as well that you can add in. I've just picked this one from the kind of template here. The next one I'm going to do is a word cloud. So word cloud is not actually here, so I'm going to go into the little library, get more visuals. So in here, in the library, you can have a look at lots of different options in here. If you to do something with timelines, for example. But I'm going to put in word cloud, okay? And there's a picture of a word cloud. So what it's going to do is ask me, do you want to load this to your application? I'm going to say yes. Okay, so my little W is down here. So all I'm going to do is drop so I have to click into white space, select my little W, drop it up here. And you got to be mindful, the data you add to the visuals have to make sense. So for example, if I wouldn't put a map in here if I don't add location or something geographical. It's not going to make sense. Power BI will not create a visual for it. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add population, drop it in. I'm going to add country and death. Okay, so we're going to add country in. Just wait for it to, I can select it as well. And we're going to add the deaths as well. So straight away, I can see by the larger text here, it'll give me, by hovering over it, it will give me that Russia has had the biggest unfortunate deaths for COVID within this period. If I click on Russia, in the map, it will go straight to the location. So it's interactive. So if you're in a presentation and you need to talk and you need to explain certain stuff, you've got the likes of these visuals that can all work together or on separate pages, depending on what you want to get across. Okay? All right, so that's your word cloud. So I'm just going to do 2 more and then we'll finish up, okay? As I said, now all of these, see all these bubbles here in all of the countries, you can change colors, you can add different fonts, you can have different backgrounds. That's all the customizations of the visuals. That can all be done as well. Okay, so the next one is a funnel. So again, it depends. You should have an idea of how you want to represent the data to help make decisions. So I'm going to grab a funnel here, which is this one right here. Grab a funnel. And I need space for this because there's a lot of countries. So in the funnel, I'm going to put country, death, and population. So select the visual. I'm going to grab country, death, and population. So now you can see, it depending on how you can change it, then you can have it ascending, descending, you know, however you want it to rotate. So again, we can click on United Kingdom here, it'll highlight it in the word cloud and it'll highlight it in my map. You can come in here and hit the little paintbrush and I can go off and I can start coloring them. I won't get caught up in this now, but you get the idea. You can add lots of customization. So for your branding, for your company, you could come in here and color yourself happy as part of this, okay? So that gives you a funnel visualization. Again, they all depend on what information you want to share and how you want to explain it, the type of visual that you would select. So the last one I'm going to do is a ring donut. Okay, so here's my ring donut. And what I'm going to drop into that is countries and death. So I'm going to grab countries. Now, again, I've given you clean data. Sometimes you're not going to get clean data to create visuals. So that would mean that you need to go back and get the data more organized, more correct, easier to understand. Making the visuals is easy, but having the data clean and even the formats of the data, making sure if you're using numbers, it's got the right format, percentages, all of that. That's where you manipulate the data in the file before you bring it into Power BI, okay? Now, one last thing I want to show you. There's visuals. What I can do is I can publish it to the cloud, which puts my file in the cloud version, or in the cloud software to log on online. I can print it out in presentations. It can be interactive, as in I could print a PDF document of all my visuals. I can do the same in PowerPoint. You can share online. You can mention if you're working in projects with groups. You can mention each other and say, hey, Laura, check this out. You need to update it. So it's got that mobile functionality as well. So the last thing I want to show you is just to show you the type of data that Power BI connects to. Okay, I'm going to select more. So I don't know all of your backgrounds. So if there's some of you that work a lot with databases, for example, Power BI can connect to lots of data out there. Okay? If something is in beta form, like for example this one here, it's still in testing form, but there is so much data out there that Power BI can connect to. One example would be Google Analytics. So that's the analytics of your website. Power BI can connect to that. What you need to do is sign in and give your username and password of your details for Google Analytics. Microsoft Power BI and Google Analytics handshake, share information, and then you can come in here and visualize all of your data. Okay? So it's a very massive business intelligence tool. It's a sought after tool, and it is a skill set that businesses look for. And maybe if there's some of you in the room already, you might say, we need someone like this, or maybe you can upskill a staff member, sending them on courses that have like visualization tools like this to help visualize all the data that you have within your business. Okay? So that's me done. So thanks, and I hope you all learned something from that. Okay? Thanks, guys.